Okay, let's take a look at our ingredients. We have our chopped carrots, onions, and potatoes. We have also grated ginger, flour, which is all peppers, an egg, some salt, milk, our ground beef, some grated nutmeg, butter, seasoning cube. And I also added a tablespoon of cooking oil in my pan before I started cooking the meat. I have my skillet warmed and I added in my oil and the ground beef, and now we are going to cook this until it is brown. I add in my salt, seasoning cube, which is the Maggi tablet. Give it a good stir. And now I'll add my grated ginger, which is about a tablespoon. Stir, cover, and let this cook for about 5 minutes until your meat is cooked. Now the meat is all browned and cooked, and I have added in my chopped potatoes. I'm adding the carrots now and the onions. And I'll give this a stir. And at this point, I'm not going to let it cook for much longer because when you bake the meat pie, it is going to cook some more, and you don't want to overcook it, or there'll be no point in having the vegetables if they are all soft. So I just covered it for about another 2 minutes, and this looks like it's good. It's perfect. So I'm just going to turn it off. So now we are going to mix our dry ingredients, which happens to be our flour, salt, and grated nutmeg. Stir, set aside for your baking. I use the pastry mixer to mix this, but I'm also trying to demonstrate with my hands now, so that if you don't have this little tool, you could use your hand. And to be sure that your pastry is good, it has enough butter, you will do this. When you press it between your fingers, you make a fist with it, it crumbs up. You would have to flick it up again. So that means you have enough butter, and for this pie, you need a good amount of butter to make it good. I just made a well in my flour mix and poured in my milk. Yes, I'm using only milk. I normally just use milk for my pie crust, and it makes it richer and flakier. And if it is whole milk, but if you happen to use evaporated milk, I would recommend that you do half and half. So you mix it with some water. So now we have our perfect pie crust. And now I'm going to wrap it up in plastic wrap and refrigerate for 30 minutes to an hour. So it's ready to go in the fridge. And I actually let it sit for an hour, and after an hour, it is set perfectly, and my filling is chilled enough that I can continue with my meat pie. So you take a little piece of your crust, roll it on a clean surface, and I'm doing it right on my countertop, which I have cleaned. You could do it on a chopping board. I used a pie mold, also called empanada press, to cut out the shape for my pie. You could use a lid, a bowl, whatever you have, so far as it makes a perfect circle and cuts easily through your crust. It is good. And so I brushed the edges of my pastry with some egg wash, and this helps for you to be able to seal it. And then I have filled it with my meat. Actually, I have put the filling in it. It's not just meat, but it has other stuff. And now I'm going to approximate the edges just like that, and using my index finger, make these indentations to seal it completely. You could use a fork as well, or you could actually use the mold, fill it, and close it up, and then you get a your meat pie shape, but I prefer to use my finger. And you repeat this until you're done. And once you're done, I am now brushing my meat pie with the rest of the egg wash. And this allows you to have a beautiful golden glossy meat pie. I mean, the top of it looks beautiful when you put that. And I love my bright yellow yolks. It makes it even better. And now with a fork, I'm going to make holes on the surface of the meat pie. I do it twice on each, and this helps your meat pie to vent so it cooks beautifully. And now it's ready to go in the oven. And the oven is preheated at 360 degrees. And we are going to be baking these meat pies in it for 30 to 40 minutes. So I set it in the middle rack, on the middle rack. And 35 minutes later, it is beautifully baked, golden, glossy, smells divine. And of course, sometimes just because you use the egg a lot, like a generous amount of egg wash, it spreads, and you feel like your pie is a little bit stuck around the edges onto the pan. So I'm just using a spatula to lift it before I try to pick it up. That way you don't break them. And now I am going to set them up here on a cooling rack so that they cool down beautifully. Just look at that. Just beautiful. And let's break into it just so you see. Look, so moist inside. The meat is not dry at all. The filling is not dry. It is moist. The crust is flaky. It is evenly cooked. Even look at the bottom. It is perfect. It smells amazing. It tastes divine.